Well, there's nothing that's not suspicious about this case, and the mother's behavior is completely off the charts. Generally don't see anything like this. But the big problem in this case is you don't have a body, you don't know where the child is, and because of that, you don't have a crime scene. And unless they're keeping things really close to the vest, which is, of course, entirely possible, it's going to have to rely on them putting together a circumstantial case to charge her with something. Now, it could be a murder if they're able to determine that she's dead. It could be a situation where they end up having to charge her with something really lightweight, like endangering a child or something like that. But just not cooperating with the cops is not really a violation. She has the right to not do that, but it sure makes it suspicious, and it puts the cops in a position where they're going to have to do surveillance and keep watching her.
So, John, for people like me out here, we get it. We know that you don't always have to answer police questions unless you're subpoenaed. But when you don't have a child that you can produce to them to ensure the child's safety, doesn't the metric change?
Well, it would change slightly. It certainly makes it more suspicious, but unless they have something that is going to be able to prove that they put her in danger, she can just lawyer up and not say anything at all. There's always that reasonable doubt that maybe she's with relatives out of state, maybe she was left with a friend or something like that. And when you have those possibilities hanging out there, it puts you in a position where it's difficult to charge her with anything, because even if they made an arrest, we all know there's something going on here. But in California, if an arrest is made, they have to be able to charge her within 48 hours, and the prosecutor's not going to be able to go forward with that if they don't have concrete proof that something bad has happened.
So, Bobby, the moving boxes, that can't be good. In my opinion, and it's a layperson's opinion, that looks like fleeing might be imminent. Does that change the dynamic here at all with the way police are looking at her, or whether they need to actually grab her before she might, I don't know, disappear like Brian Laundrie was able to with agents outside of his home in Florida?
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. And I think John's right. I think they probably have something drafted on a lesser charge, a child abandonment, child neglect charge. They probably have something drafted. They don't want to charge her yet with it, but they probably have, she's under watch. If she starts leaving with those packed boxes, I believe they'll probably then be forced to haul her in before a family court judge on a lesser charge. I think they're building the case now. It's taken a lot of work because this is kind of a mystery on where the child is, but I think they probably have charges drafted. They don't want to charge her yet because they're not very strong. But if she starts packing those boxes into a car and leaving, I think then they're going to be forced to do something.
Yeah, a little hard to do that even under the cover of night, packing boxes into a vehicle. Okay, John, last week on the show, or might even have been Monday, the days are long, Jennifer Coffendorfer, formerly with the FBI, said that it's a wise strategy to leave her to her own devices right now because she is frantic. I mean, she's behaving in an erratic way. And maybe, just maybe, there'll be the kind of screw up that will A, lead them to Melanie, or B, lead them to Melodee's body, God forbid. Is that what you see as perhaps the reason that they're taking this hands-off approach?
Yeah, I think it's entirely possible and most likely probable. For a simple reason, she doesn't seem to be a very sophisticated criminal or anything like that. Just the fact that she didn't plan this very well. We don't know if she was trafficking her daughter. But then again, on the same hand, you don't know that she's not visiting relatives out of state that Ashleigh is not telling anybody about. Now, you would think that other family members, if they're watching this show or they catch media coverage on this case, would be willing to come forward, which makes it even more suspicious that we're probably having a tough time finding her alive. I don't like to be a pessimist on these things, but having worked with them over the years, the behavior like this is pretty far out there. It could suggest some mental health issues on the part of the mother, maybe some defiance. Of course, we know that the father is not in the picture. I understand that he was killed in a motorcycle accident when she was very young. So we don't have him to appeal to, which would be really a great thing. We also don't know if maybe Ashleigh is being forced into this by somebody else. So there's so many variables out there which put the investigators at a disadvantage to bring charges at this time.
So what's fascinating, I thought when this road trip to Nebraska surfaced, that Nebraska is a hotbed for human trafficking, sex trafficking. And I wondered, my goodness, off she went to Nebraska with the child and came home without the child. Is that possibly what could have happened? And lo and behold, that doesn't seem to be the case. I want to get both of your thoughts on this. Start with you, Bobby. She went to Utah and Nebraska. They are both considered to be hotbeds for trafficking. But here are all the places: Utah, Arizona, Nebraska, Colorado. She was in all these places, Nevada, before she returned to California. Can you make head or tail, Bobby, about this route that she took, having returned from Nebraska, still with the child, because the child is last seen apparently on the Colorado-Utah border?
Yeah, I mean, looking at that map, I can just say, and I live near that area, and I lived in Utah for a while, and I live out in the desert. That's a very unpopulated route through that southern Utah, through that Nevada area, the desert there. She's not going through a lot of major towns or major cities. She's off the beaten track there, and if you can anywhere along that route, you can pull off, and in 10 minutes you can be in a very desolate and isolated place. So if you wanted to, say, God forbid, dispose of a body, there's ample places along that route to do that.
Well, that's devastating. I was hoping it would be more something that was traceable, like a deal maybe made for trafficking in Nebraska and executed closer to Utah, the two states where, there's a lot of trafficking that's reported, but and something that would be, again, I said traceable, meaning you get Melodee back as opposed to get Melodee back dead. Actually, John, that's such a good question for you, considering that when you went looking for Laci Peterson, you ended up finding Laci Peterson and she was dead. Are we looking for a live little girl, or are we looking now for a body? Do you have any wisdom one way or the other?
Well, I'd like to think that we'd find her alive, because that's always the greatest victory that you can have in a case like this. But you have to put some things out there that are going to provide an incentive for people to come forward. A pretty hefty reward can get people who are on the wrong side of the law to cooperate, because they see a monetary advantage in that. And especially if there's more than one person involved in this, their loyalty is only going to allow them to be loyal up to a certain dollar amount, and then they'll come forward. Hopefully programs like yours, and if anybody else profiles this, will get the word out to the right people. If Melodee's still with us, and we can bring her home, that would be the ideal situation. But having done the job for a while, my optimism is a little bit behind me now.
I feel the same way. The longer we go with her erratic behavior and no sign of Melodee, it just it doesn't feel good either way. John Buehler and Bobby Chacon, thank you both. Really appreciate this.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.